Hello everyone, this presentation is on William and Caroline Herschel. They were, sorry, not are, that's been a long time ago. Were, in a sense, either way, were German, British astronomers. William was also a bit of a composer at one point, but we'll get into that in a second. This is their life story. I included their younger years, their working years, and their later life, of course, and some of their greatest achievements. I probably missed a few, but they did a lot of wonderful things for astronomy and the future astronomers now. So I think they fit lovely into the famous scientist category. So let's get started with their life. We're going to start with William Herschel because he had quite the array of discoveries, but of course he wouldn't be anywhere without his sister Caroline, and Caroline would be nowhere without William, of course. So we're going to start with William since he started first. This is William and Caroline Herschel. It's a very candid picture of them both that everyone uses quite often. So we'll start with William's early life. He was Sir William Herschel. We'll get to that later on. He was a German-British astronomer and composer. He was born in Hanover, Brunswick, Lüneburg, November 15th, 1738. Sorry if I mispronounced that lovely town. That will happen quite frequently, I'm sure, with what we were going through, so please excuse my mispronunciations. He was also in the Hanoverian Guard Regiment before he had a bad run-in with some French in 1757. This was about the time that the French were also going to invade Germany. So his father found out about his run-in with some French people in the guard and decided to ship him and his older brother off to London, England, so that they could stay out of the revolution and out of harm's way. Something tells me he may have been a little hot-headed if his dad moved him out so quickly. He moved him out so quickly that they moved with no money, which is a nice story for in a few minutes. That was quite an escapade for both of those boys. So him and his brother, like I said, moved to London, England. They stay around England. They jump hop from town to town quite a bit. They don't really keep very good track of which town they live in during what. So Will would just settle for England because that is where he spends most of his time. He bounces around a lot between observatories and other towns and things as he's studying. He spends a lot of time with the king as well, which is a nice story for later. So they both get to London, England, after their father ships them off because of the French invasion and the issues that they had with the French people. So William and his brother found they had no money, so they were trying to think of what they could do to get some money. So they ended up being interested in music and composition. William had a strong interest niche with the harmony of composition and composing and things. So that led him to studying mathematics so he could understand harmony. And then once he got into mathematics, it later branched off into astronomy, where he decided he really liked astronomy and that would be something that he would do. It also gave him his life's work, so he doing pretty good for himself. In his later life, of course, he picks up his sister Caroline from his parents. She ended up later on having a big passion for astronomy as well as a liking of singing. The first few months for her were pretty bad, but we'll get into that later on her own little story. He actually picks Caroline up in 1772. In return, she agrees to sing some of his compositions with him because she had a good singing voice. He taught her how to sing. He also taught her basic math, reading, and writing so she could help him with his astronomy work. She later became his assistant and got credit for a lot of their discoveries they had together. And most of their discoveries they did together, although she does have some individual discoveries on her own. So we'll get into her life and her achievements later on because, of course, they each had their own separate achievements away from each other, even though she was helping as his assistant. William's life and discoveries, let's jump right into it. And of course, since he picked up Caroline and she's his assistant, she gets some credit, of course, like I said. The first thing he decided on was when he was studying a book of harmonics for his composition. He began to tie that into telescopes and the eyepieces in telescopes and how they were made and how they worked. And I will fix that typo later on. I do apologize. I thought I got them all. Which led to him building a telescope with a magnifying power of 6,450 times that of a regular telescope. Sorry, I adjusted that typo so that I wouldn't have to go back in and readjust it. So now it's correct. So he was interested in how the eyepieces and things were made, and of course he made that really high magnifying telescope. That was probably one of his best magnifying telescopes, if not the best telescope he has made. But we will talk about the biggest telescope he made in a little bit. In building the telescope and the eyepieces, which I put as one word, it may be two, but he went and studied them, and as he was making them, he discovered infrared light. He also started their catalog with double star nebulas as well with this discovery. So this started it big for him. See what happens next. Here, sorry. Okay, so William's discoveries and his inventions, of course. In 1785, he developed what we call cosmology, which his definition in the day was the study of the universe while out studying stars and nebulas and things with all his telescopes. William also believed that you could see all of the stars in the solar system and that they were evenly spread out. He later abandoned these ideas as he went and studied the universe more. In 1790, when he discovered a remarkable nebulous star, a nebula, which of course is a star surrounded by clouded illuminating fluid. That's what they believed a nebula to be. He had a lot of these discoveries. They actually discovered a lot of nebulas and a lot of stars and a lot of other things on his nightly excursions. So let's move on to when he discovered Uranus. He and Caroline discovered Uranus March 13th, 1781. He also discovered its two moons as well. and we will get into that in part 2.